The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contests, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
All right, it's time for a popularity contest.
Ooh.
In regards to The Walking Dead. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're The Podcasting Dead, and we are here today to talk about the popularity of The Walking Dead characters. But before we begin, make sure you check out our channel. We've got all kinds of podcasts on everything from The Walking Dead to the paranormal to conspiracies to just what's going on in life. And at the end of this podcast, we'll give you our Patreon info. And if you want more content, you can go there and you will get a lot of extra content for a very little price. But in the meantime, JP, let's just start it off, man. I mean, before we really get into it, if I had to ask you, JP, who is your all-time favorite Walking Dead character, could you provide me with an answer?
Oh, boy, that would be a tough one. That would be tough, but I would go with Merle.
So Merle would be your all-time favorite?
Merle's old meth-snorting racist ass, yeah.
Do you love him or do you love his ass?
Both. He was just a fun, interesting character.
Yeah, that he was.
And a great actor.
Yeah, Michael Roker's awesome, man. He seems like a cool dude in real life, too. But, all right, so there is a video that I found on YouTube. It's by a user named Ryan. It's Rinne. But this person got these findings from Google. So when we say most popular, we're going more by most searched, most appearing in Google searches. Now, this goes from 2012, which would have been, season 2 to 3, up through 2019. So it's fairly current. I mean, these definitely could have changed going into 2020, but for the most part, I think they're still pretty relevant. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through the years. Now, this person actually took the time. Definitely check out the video. It's a lot more in depth than we're going to do here. But this person actually took the time to go through, I think, each month, which I wish we had time to do.
Wow.
But we don't. But so we're just going to kind of give an overview. So, like, as I'm looking at it, starting out in 2012, all right. So season 3 was released in the beginning of this. All right. In the beginning of 2012, JP, who do you think was the most popular character? And again, when we say most popular, we're basing that on Google searches.
Season 3, 2012. I mean, it would have to be, I would think, between Rick and Daryl, right?
And you'd be wrong.
Wrong.
In 2012, at the beginning of season 3, the most popular character was Shane.
Wow.
And who do you think number 2 would be?
I'd have to be Rick or Daryl, right?
Nope.
What?
Michonne. But you got to think she was very new. Lots of people are probably Googling, like, who is Michonne type deal. And then sitting at number 3 is the beloved Daryl Dixon. Now, our boy Rick actually is sitting all the way down at number 5 right now. And the least popular character was... You ready for this?
T-Dog?
No. Andrea.
Oh my God.
I laugh so ignorantly because if you actually listen to our podcast, if you were to go back through and listen, we started podcasting about The Walking Dead in season 6. I've made it known many, many times that Andrea is my least favorite character of all times. I think that she's just an awful character.
No, I loved her. I loved that she used her sexuality as a weapon.
She didn't use it as a weapon.
Oh yeah.
You could say that if she had gutted the governor after, giving him the V, but she didn't. She stared at him lovingly and put the knife to his throat and decided she couldn't do it. So she didn't use sex as a weapon.
It was part of a bigger plan that got derailed because of the actions of a few, but anyway.
Now, what's funny is as we move into 2013 here, it's shifted. Actually, not really. Into 2013, while still in season 3, Shane was still the most popular character. But Daryl, old Dare Bear, was right there behind him. So that's when Daryl really kind of took the lead. Then Michonne got kicked back to number 3. The governor was number 4. Maggie was number 5. And our boy Rick was sitting again still at number 5.
What is
number
happening with
6?
Rick?
No. Rick's at number 6. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no. Oh, Rick was way on down there.
Jeez.
Yeah. Sasha was at the very last, and Andrea was right above Sasha. So people still didn't genuinely care much for Andrea. At least not enough to. And as we head into 2013, that's when you start to see Shane's popularity waning. Daryl's still standing strong, most popular character, but Shane is actually going on back now, but still sitting at the number 2 spot, going all the way through 2013. Wow. And Daryl leads by a huge margin now. And then there's a shift as we get towards the end of the 2013. The Governor is the second most popular character.
Okay, I can
with
see that.
Daryl still being number 1 and our boy Rick sitting at number 5. He seems to like that number 5 spot. And as I say that, going into 2014, Rick shifts from 5 to number 4. But of course, you've still got Dare Bear sitting strong in that number 1 spot with the Governor behind him, Maggie being number 3. And continuing on towards the end of 2014, we're getting into 2015 now. Old Dare Bear is still leading by a huge margin. Like there's no contest. The Governor's still at number 2, Maggie at number 3, Rick at number 4, and my boy Shane's hanging in there, man. I mean, we're into 2015. Shane's been gone, and dude is still like in the top 5 most popular Walking Dead characters. So John Bernthal should be proud of that. But as we head into 2015, you see some shifts going down at the bottom. Morgan's popularity starts going up, and now Maggie has moved into the number 2 spot. Daryl still being the most popular in 2015, but Maggie coming in at number 2, with the Governor dropping down to 4th, and our boy Rick finally moving to 3rd place. So finally, Rick's getting the attention he deserves. Now, as we continue through 2015, it basically looks the same. You have some changes down at the bottom with Glenn. Actually, Glenn moved up quite a bit. Coming at the end of 2015, you actually had Glenn sitting in the top 10, I'd say. He hadn't made it to the top 5 yet, but and in 2016, Daryl's still at number 1, Maggie at number 2, with Rick at number 3, the Governor still at number 4, and our boy Shane's starting to go on down. He's out of the top 5 with the Governor sitting at number 5 right now. Rick sitting firm at number 3. Now, I just find that interesting. I would have always thought like Rick and Daryl would have been
That's what my assumption was.
The battle for top. And I mean, I think...
Boy, was I wrong.
I think we could definitely have imagined Daryl would stay number 1 the majority of this list, but I definitely thought Rick would be there behind him, because there was a lot of people for a long time, us included, going, if Rick is gone, the show's going to die. Yeah. Daryl's cool, but not strong enough to carry the show, which we were wrong. But and now you got old Negan climbing the ranks. Wow, as you get into the very last month of 2012, your most popular characters, your top 5, were Daryl, in order. Daryl, Maggie, Negan, Rick, and Glenn. So Glenn's sitting at that number 5 spot. Rick was the 4th most popular character to round out 2016. Then Negan, then Maggie, then Daryl. So this is interesting because, Maggie got a lot of hate by the end of the All Out War saga, with a lot of our regular listeners saying they really didn't care if she came back or not. Good riddance. But according to Google, man, she was hanging in there at number 2 for a long time.
Probably just looking for those topless pics from that movie.
I remember seeing that, and then, of course, had no clue who she was. Yeah. The Rise of Taj. Now, the top 5 stay the same going into 2007. We're halfway through 2017, and the top 5 have not shifted. You still got Daryl as the most popular character, followed by Maggie, then Negan, then Rick, then Glenn. And moving on down the list, right under Glenn at number 6, you got Michonne. Then you've still got the Governor. You got Carol. You got Shane. You got Rosita, Morgan, Tara, Carl. I'm surprised we haven't. No, I'm not. I'm not surprised. I'm surprised we haven't seen Carl yet. I forgot he was in the runnings, but not really. Beth. How is Beth more popular than Herschel? Yeah, Beth's sitting one spot on top of her papa, man. Herschel should be right there up the number, at least in the top 5. You Google searchers are crazy.
Those Beth picks, man.
I'm telling you, Abraham sitting under Herschel. Then you had Jesus, Judith, Sasha, and Andrea still in the. You know how much I'm loving this, right?
No,
JP tries to defend Andrea. I hate Andrea. Here we are with the Google results, and Andrea has not left that bottom spot. Anyways, moving through 2017, let's see if there's any top 5 shifts. There are not. Actually, there are no changes. Okay, so now as we get towards the end of 2017, interest has went up in Rosita and Carl. They moved up It's still not in the top 5, but they have moved up now. As we get into 2018, there are still no shifts in the top 5. That's holding pretty strong. We're getting on into 2018 now. I feel like I'm watching a horse race or something, or like watching the stock market or something. But yeah, you still got your top 5, and almost out of 2018 and into 2019. And as let's see, we'll stop before we get into 2000. We got a shift. Right at the end of 2018. So as we start out 2019, your top 5 in order are Daryl, Maggie, Rick, Negan, and Glenn. That's the same, I guess, but they were shifting. But yeah, that's your top 5. Glenn's held on to that number 5 spot for a while, and Daryl really hasn't left the number 1 spot since he took it from Shane. But moving through 2019, let's see if there are any shifts, any major shifts. You had Tara. Interest in Tara went up. Morgan's staying a lot lower than I would have thought he would have. But your top 5 most popular still Daryl, Maggie, Rick, Negan, and Glenn. As we get close to the end of 2019, oh man, there's only like 2 months left. All right, that's going to wrap it up. So as of the end of 2019, here are the most popular Walking Dead characters in order, starting at number 1 and working our way down. So you've got Dare Bear, Mr. Daryl Dixon, Maggie Green, Rick, Negan himself, Glenn, Michonne, Rosita, Carol, the Governor, Shane, Carl, Tara, Morgan, Herschel, Jesus, Beth, Abraham, Judith, Enid, and Sasha. That's who the most popular characters were in order at the end of 2019, getting ready to go into 2020. So what do you think of the list, man?
It threw me for a couple loops, but I could see some of the practicality in it. Sure.
It seems now what's cool is if you actually watch, it's really cool to look at the times where certain characters moved up, right?
Spiked, yeah.
So like towards the end of Glenn's life on the show, he started to go up. You know what I mean? I guess people had heard rumors that it was coming, so a lot of people were Googling, how does Glenn die? Glenn on The Walking Dead. And it's very interesting to see that Maggie was like in that number 2 spot for the majority of the time. Like once she got there, she won't leave. And like Daryl, once they got their respected spots on that list for the majority of the time, they just never left. And I wonder how much it has to do, though, like you said, with people Googling like Maggie or Lauren Cohen topless. But the thing is, I would hope these searches were by character names and not by actor names. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I imagine they wouldn't have counted when people Googled Lauren Cohen. They would have Googled Maggie Green or Maggie the Walking Dead or
topless.
Well, I'm sure people have done that, absolutely. But
LESS topless.
But yeah, would you put Maggie at number 2 in your list of favorite Walking Dead characters?
Nah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Give me your top 5 all time. From the beginning, being that this list, because we clearly had Shane, the Governor, other characters in the running long after they had left the show. So, you can go back to the beginning. Tell me your top 5 characters, ever.
This is crazy, man. Merle, Andrea, Negan post All Out War, because Negan during All Out War could be a little not so great. Then we will go with. I'll put Shane on there because he was a great heel. And anchoring the list, drum roll, please, because I'm still thinking it's not in my mind yet. Michonne.
Man, I thought Michonne would have been. Was that in order, or was that just going through your favorite character?
That was in order.
Michonne is your really?
She's the anchor. She anchors the list. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's at the bottom.
Well, she got that big booty to anchor it down good. I like it. Yeah.
Oh, man. I know you've defended Andrea in the past, but that's bold, man. She's in your top 5 favorites?
Those seasons she was involved with, I hadn't thought about her because it's been so many years, but yeah, I was ride or die team Andrea.
I don't understand you, but I guess that's why this podcast works.
I was riding with Andrea the way Andrea was riding Shane. Yeah.
How do you think that played out? Never mind. We don't need to get into that.
All right.
But interesting. If I had to give my top 5 favorite characters ever, man, God, I asked you that and totally wasn't prepared for it myself,
dude.
man.
There's so many characters to go through. I mean, are you going to leave out Abraham? How could you do that? He was so quippy. I mean,
Abraham was a character I loved. I hated to see go, and in time could have became probably one of my favorites. But he was at the current time, he was not in my top 5. However, he was a character that I very much loved. You know what I mean?
And do you discount the fear characters? Do they?
Yes,
even get
they don't even exist until they step foot on the Walking Dead show.
They're not in this game.
They're not, even though it is interesting that technically The Walking Dead has stepped foot on Fear the Walking Dead show. Because remember, the season 4 opening for Fear the Walking Dead pretty much picks up right where The Walking Dead left off. You see Rick, you see Carol, and Jadis, perhaps. I can't remember who all came to see Morgan. But Morgan's sitting in the garbage place, and they all come to visit him. And I was like, oh, my God, it's technically a crossover.
I know, and then ended up being a pretty crappy season.
Much like Morgan's new home. It was a big steaming pile of garbage.
Yeah.
But if I had to go with my top 5, man, all right, as cliche as it is, and I'm sorry, forgive me for not being a deeper thinker, but Rick Grimes, man, he's always been.
You gotta love him.
To me, this is Rick's story, and Rick is who I think all of us like to think we could be in the apocalypse. But following next to Rick, someone else we really think that we want to be like in the apocalypse would be Michonne. She's a survivor. She's a fighter. Michonne in All Right is kind of like the perfect counterpart for Rick. You know what I mean? Like they both are very similar, very, very similar. They're both vicious. They both will do what it takes to survive, but they're not cold all the time. They can be very loving and, you know, have very sensitive, I guess you could say, sides, but they also have that killer element to their personality that keeps them alive. And they also have instincts for survival that not everyone has. Beth, I'm looking at you. So you've got Rick, you've got Michonne. Man, this is a tough one. Rick, Michonne. I got to throw my boy Herschel in there, man, because the main reason I have to put Herschel in my top 5 is because the hurt I felt when he died, I don't think I could feel that hurt from someone that I did not absolutely love. You know what I'm saying? Like, it made me straight up say, I'm done with The Walking Dead. Nope, done. Screw this. And then I realized the next day, of course, I wasn't done with this wonderful show. It's just that I was so attached to that character. What a good portrayal. That's good acting and that's good writing. You've gotten me so attached to this character that I'm getting emotional at their loss, almost as if I was there myself watching the governor kill him. So we're going to go Rick at the time. Now, keep in mind, this could change. You go through our list of go through our podcast, you'll be like, oh, no, they've already done their top 5 favorites, and they were totally different people. But at the moment, it would be Rick, Michonne, Herschel, Shane, because much like yourself, Shane was a D-bag, but he was such a great character. I mean, John Bernthal played it so well, and I loved the times that it was Shane and Rick. I loved that friends turned enemy aspect. That's always been some of my favorite drama in movies and shows, or when best friends become the worst of enemies. I mean, it's so much deeper than the governor who just stumbled upon the prison and now he hates Rick because just basically Rick's the leader. You know what I mean? And it's just part of his conquest. I love when there's actual history there. Honestly, I think it's great the way they wrapped it up with Shane, but I wouldn't have been too hurt if we would have had a little bit of a bigger story with Shane. But I honestly don't think that could have went much further than it did. But I wouldn't have been mad if they would have tried. So we've got Rick. And you know what? I'm gonna anchor it down with Daryl.
Okay. I figured he would.
I did. In the beginning, I loved Daryl. Yeah. And I got to a point where I really didn't like Daryl for a season or two, and now I'm back to loving Daryl. He's a great character. I'm sure there are people I'm forgetting.
Of course.
I'm forgetting in characters there. And The Walking Dead's got far better female characters than my list included. I realized that mine was 4 guys and 1 female, but
it's a real sausage party.
It is, and I'm sure there's someone I'm leaving out. I do really like Maggie, like not just because I find her attractive. I think Maggie's a great character. I think that towards the end of All Out War, she kind of got douchey, and then the coming right off of All Out War, she and Daryl are pretty much responsible for the dilemma that Rick wound up in.
You always love Sasha.
I did like Sasha. I didn't. I loved Glenn. Glenn's another character that I did love. Yeah. I'm trying to think, man. Rosita. I love Rosita. That's a female I could have put in my list. I think Rosita's awesome. I don't know if she's quite in my top 5, but she's
close.
She's definitely, oh yeah, she's right there. They're all inside at the VIP section. She's standing at the rope, and someone's deciding whether or not to let her in.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know your top 5 favorite Walking Dead characters. If you are a longtime listener of this podcast, you know our list could change tomorrow. So don't take that to the bank. But at the moment, as I reflect on the show and this list, those are kind of my top 5s, and those are JP's top 5s. And we want to hear your top 5s. Put them in the comments below. Let us know who your top 5 favorite Walking Dead characters are. And then maybe we'll do the reverse and we'll come out. We already have a video of the top 10 worst characters in The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we're going to go back through and maybe revise that now that it's been several years. But let us know and consider subscribing to the channel. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thepodcastingdead, where you get all kinds of podcasts. Now, on there, we don't really talk about The Walking Dead exclusively. I mean, we can get on that subject, but we talk about everything from the paranormal to conspiracies to what we're drinking this weekend to The Walking Dead. So,
Yeah.
But thank you so much for checking us out. We hope everyone is staying healthy, staying sane, and we'll catch you back here, if nothing else, on Monday.
We sure will.
I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're The Podcasting Dead.